Friends, family, fans, welcome back to another episode of Back Nine Bets, baby. Episode 59, Walker, Texas Danger. That is not a typo. Texas is in danger because we got a Mr. Walker walking around Texas, and he's playing some good golf at some ridiculous odds. Hopefully that can be our thing this week. What can happen? It is the AT&T Byron Nelson down in McKinney, Texas. Surprisingly, I know a lot about what's going on today, considering we haven't really butchered anything about the details of the show a minute into the show. So that's what's cooking. We've got the Byron Nelson. We've got Byron, yours truly, aka the Model Maniac, talking about the Byron Nelson. So there's a lot of Byron stuff going on. I mean, a lot of mention about old Byron Nelson this week. He's quite a legend. The guy lived for a while. Very truly honored to be named after the great. Now, I did think when my parents named me, it was after the barn or cowshed, which also Byron stands for, but I digress. So, thanks to my parents, we are named after a legend. So that's very cool. Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday evening, wherever you are and where I find you, I hope you are having a good day. As I mentioned in my little thingy below, if you're watching live on YouTube and want to be part of the show, please feel free to drop in any sort of theme idea, whether it's your favorite team, whether it's your favorite movie, whether it's your favorite anything, random stuff. We'll kind of do a little impromptu type vibe. I want to incorporate my fans and my friends and family, if you're watching, in the show. So if you're watching on YouTube live, feel free to drop that in there. I know it's not something I do very often, but I'm kind of curious and kind of keep my ADD at bay as we go through the show. So that's what's cooking on that front. As always, the show's brought to you by rotoballer.com. Please, folks, your boy is grinding hard. If you don't have yourself a premium subscription at rotoballer.com, go over there right now and use code Maniac for 10% off. $180 if you use that code for the whole year, which equates to a really affordable rate per month. And if you really don't want to support Spence that much, that whole package is the platinum package. If you want to just get behind your boy for $99 a year, use the code Maniac and get it for $90. That will also get you all my premium stuff. And I would greatly appreciate that from you guys because we are trying to make a living from this thing. Accounting sucks. I don't like to do that stuff. So would love for you to help me pursue my dream. That being said, we've got all the tools over there. We've got all the premium articles. We've got our Discord. I've got all my models, Rainmaker models, Showdown models. Provide you a great value, so you've got all the things you could wish for from a tools, assistance, content perspective over at rotoballer.com. So go and check it out right now and start rotoballing like a boss. That's what's cooking on the rotoballer front. We are doing some great things over there and growing that place. It's going to be rotoballer, folks. Get in now while you can. I'm just kidding. It ain't going nowhere. We're getting bigger. Let's dive into the show. Let's dive into what's going on this week. Let's take a look at some key stats before we take a look at this giant model that I've made. We've got all sorts of random numbers cooking out. We're going to just get those out of the way and tidy up the screen a little bit. So what we've got is two events worth of data at the Byron Nelson, played at TPC Craig Ranch. The back-to-back winner, TPC Lee, a.k.a. KH Lee, a.k.a. K Young Hoon Lee, won the thing twice. Nobody else has won the Byron Nelson at TPC Craig Ranch. So interesting characteristic there. Although if you take a peek at the course relativity and relatability and repeatability and course history is what I'm trying to say, it's not very good. It's actually one of the worst on tour. So KH Lee doing his thing back-to-back times there and being super chalk this week is hilarious. So we'll let that slide, but just want y'all to know that it's not necessarily a course that is very predictable, especially with scores getting down to like minus 25. So that's what's cooking there. From a statistical perspective, we're seeing some below average strokes gained off the tee by 1% distance, 2% less, and then accuracy a little bit more important, 1% more important than tour average over the 2 rounds we've seen so far. Strokes gained approach, not necessarily begging the ball strikers out there. So that's kind of interesting. It's down 3% than tour average, all the way down in the 5.7 range versus the 6.1 over the last 2 years, 5.8, 5.7. And then around the green, you're kind of going to see a lot of green regulations this week, so not that important. And then strokes gained putting, as we're going to get to minus 25, is essential. So we've got some serious putts coming in from 5 to 15 feet, all that jazz we'll get into in the next slide. As a proximity ratings, we've got 125 to 150, through 225, round about 15 to 17% per a bucket there for those 25 buckets, making up about a casual 63% of shots from 125 to 225, and a lot more shots than tour average coming from 200 plus. So there's a lot going on when it comes to looking at the proximities. You want some really important strokes gained approach from 200 plus. We are on the wrong page. There we go. You want to make sure, as you're looking in the top right of the corner here, we want strokes gained approach coming from 200 plus at 16% of our total. There's a lot of shots coming from that range. Then we got 9% from 150 to 200, 7% from 100 to 150, and 2% from 50 to 100. Kind of closer we get there, the less we want. So as we're going to do our weightings here, 63% from 2023, and then 37% from last year's season, at 37% for 2022. As we mentioned, course history, not nearly that important. So that's only going to be 5% of our weighting, with the below stats going to be 85% of our total, which is kind of important. And then the last 24 rounds just being recent form, being the final 10% to get there. So we're very stats dependent, very heavily dependent on what's going on in the model this week at 85%. We've got 5% for easy scoring conditions. As we've seen, minus 25 is a deep number for the winner. We also just kind of making sure that we're seeing a lot of good shots in our model here. Good shots are from, I think, 150 in is like 6 feet, put it that way. So it's a percentage where these golfers are absolutely knocking it stiff from that relative range. So we want a lot of good shots, even from 150 plus. That's very important. 200 plus, you need good shots. You need good close proximities to make those birdies with the long irons. It's going to be very important this week. And then just strokes gained from those ranges too. Those are kind of the two key stats we're using from the approach side of things. We got some putting here. We got a casual 15% of putting. As we've seen, don't typically ramp it up that much, but 15%, 7% bend, 3% strokes gained putting baseline, and then 5% from 5 to 15 feet on all surfaces. And then we've got some 5% around the greens, 7% for birdie or better percentages, and 13% for strokes gained or birdie or better rates on par fives. And then we've got 17% for off the tee total driving, general off the tee 5%, driving accuracy 5%, distance 3%, and then off the tee of the last 24 rounds for 24%. Woo! We got through all that crap. Let's dive into the model. It's going to be a fun one, folks. We don't really have any good names in this week's field, apart from the good old Scotty Scheffler, who's sitting way at the top here. Let me hide this random row and get into who we want to talk about this week. We're going to go down the model. We don't care about the DraftKings pricing. We're going to organically talk about guys through all the different ranges as we go down the model, and that is how we are going to rank this week's field. Scotty Scheffler undoubtedly sits first in the field at a casual 3.36 power ratings, which is about 1.3 ahead of Tyrrell. Tyrrell is in second place there. So Scotty is just ball striking the crap out of it right now. He leads the field in strokes gained approach, strokes gained off the tee, strokes gained ball striking. On easy courses, he's actually third. We've got some other guys that play a lot better on easier courses than Scotty does, including Tyrrell. So that's some interesting concepts there. But Scotty's the number one guy off the tee. And if you take a look at his year-to-date, so these yellow boxes over here in the top right corner are the year-to-date proximities and the data golf stuff that I've been using now for the stroke gained approach instead. So we don't even really have a basic strokes gained approach. We have a weighted strokes gained approach, which takes these stats from the model and it incorporates that and kind of baselines them and prorates them to get us how you would expect strokes gained approach to play out on a golf course like this. And by doing that, we get a weighted year-to-date strokes gained, which I think is a lot more reflective of what you're trying to do in a model anyway. You don't just want baseline strokes gained approach. So that's what's cooking there. Scotty Scheffler is number one in strokes gained approach from those ranges, and he's number two in weighted good shot percentages, which means he's knocking it tight a lot, and he's number one in poor shot avoidance. So he doesn't hit a bad shot. Nobody hits less bad shots than Scotty Scheffler in the field. He dominates par fives. He leads in birdie percentages, and he's the third in bogey avoidance. So not a lot to talk about Scotty Scheffler. He's the best at pretty much everything that matters this week, if not inside the top five. So that's what's got going on there. His putter could be the only issue that kind of leads to a situation, but the ball striking is just too consistent, too repeatable, too non-problematic to ignore. So that's what's going on with Scotty Scheffler. We're going to kind of get the hell out of Scotty Scheffler town and talk about somebody else. He's 11-9 at 36-ish%. He's going to be way the hell up there. It's kind of like a John Rahm in Mexico type situation. We just got Scotty Scheffler in Texas. Isn't that kind of funny? They both suit those places, and we see some insane ownership at some insane pricing. Minus 500 for a top 20 for Scotty Scheffler. That's unbelievable, isn't it? It's like the New York Jets to win the Super Bowl minus 500. I'm just kidding. The Jets aren't going to win it at minus 5,000. But Tyrrell Hatton, second in the model. He's $10,100 and roughly 26% owned. Darbo in the house. Yo, 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 my brother. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you always being with us. As always, you are one of my loyal and faithful followers, as I am yours. We give each other a good reputation. So, yes, we've missed the Scotty Shawk. We're back to Tyrrell now. And Tyrrell's ball striking has been sensational over the last 24 rounds. He leads the field behind Scotty Scheffler in second place there. He's off the tee stuff, seventh. Last 24 rounds approach, second. Love to see that. And he's the second best on easy courses. So Tyrrell's out here just grinding away on the easy courses. His short game's pretty solid. And then I think that's where he kind of has Scotty beat. Now, my issue with Tyrrell is if you take a peek at his putting from 5 to 15 feet, it's 20th on all surfaces. And then you take a little peek over to the next column, and he's 143rd from 5 to 15 feet on bent grass. That's not good. He sees one of the biggest decreases in putting performance from 5 to 15 feet, which, by the way, is one of the more predictive of the putting stats. 5 to 15 feet is where you can really decipher how good a golfer really is on the putting surface regularly. Those are putts you see every single round. There's no outlier amounts that can really skew strokes gained from 5 to 15 feet, whereas like a bomb from 40 feet can really change your strokes gained putting if you have a few of those on a putting surface, which maybe happens more often on bent grass for some people, maybe not. But if you're looking for a more predictive value, 5 to 15 feet is the range I typically try and rely on. And Tyrrell Hatton, he's going to see a lot of 5 to 15 footers this week. And if you take a look at green regulation rates, it's up. If you take a look at proximity to hole rates at this golf course, even though we're from so far away, we see a lot of shots land up closer to the hole than to average. So 5 to 15 feet is a key range on these bent greens. And Tyrrell Hatton and Scotty Scheffler, to be honest, are both rather disgusting from that range. Now Scotty's ball striking he's going to be knocking it to 5 feet regularly. And he just makes them from there. But Tyrrell is disgusting from 5 to 15 feet. His birdie or better rates, par 5 scoring inside the top 20 in the field, which is also kind of peculiar. But he doesn't typically play that fantastic in these non-elevated events. And he missed the cut at the Valero. So there's some stuff going on in Tyrrell's life that doesn't really – I was eyeing him out. I was looking at him, kind of thinking, like looking at that easy scoring, looking at what he does with the long irons. He's weighted proximity. He's weighted good shots, 17th inside the field. So he hits a lot of good long irons, and particularly out of the rough. Tyrrell Hatton's fantastic out of the rough. He loves to hit some good shots from the long stuff, and he's one of the best putters in the field. But then you go on to bent, and we got that issue. So I'm out on Tyrrell. We are not going to be playing him in DFS. I really wanted to bet him at 16-1 based off those ball striking numbers, but I'm not entirely sure I trust him at a non-elevated event in Texas on bent grass. I believe in Texas on bent grass might be the same argument. I'm not sure how many Bermuda greens there are in Texas, but that's another point for another day. As you can tell, we are thoroughly and utterly besotted with Tom Hoagie, who's third in the model in 8,500 smackaronis and 13% owned. So this is going to be the Tom Hoagie week, friends. We are in on Tom Hoagie at 60-1 to win this goddamn tournament. We are in on Tom Hoagie at plus 210 for a top 20 at FanDuel. We sell Darbo. Yes, sir. Sell me on not playing Tyrrell. I think I did a pretty good job there. You don't want to drink that ice, my friend. Back to Tom Hoagie. Plus 210 for a top 20, 60-1 to win this tournament. And he's going to be in a lot of my DFS lineups this week. Basically, we live and die by the sword. So Tom Hoagie's got a really peculiar top 20, top 40 miscut rate scenario. And let me go and tell you why we like Tom Hoagie. If you take a peek at this top 10 percentage in column Y, Tom Hoagie finished inside the top 10 22% of the time, but he finishes top 40 only 47% of the time. So he's got one of the worst safety ratings in the field, but he's the third highest, I believe, in T10 rates in the field behind Tom Kim and Scotty Scheffler. So Tom Hoagie he's Mr. Upside. He is Mr. Upside, and he cannot be left off the card when he provides you this amount of salary relief, this amount of upside. And I think I mentioned to somebody on Twitter, he wanted to bet Tom Hoagie for a top 40 at even money. He does a top 40 at 47% of the time, but he top 20s 36% of the time. So you're going to get double the odds. I think he got him at minus 105 for a top 40. Tom Hoagie's plus 210 for a top 20. He's a guy you have to bet aggressively. I'm contemplating almost even betting him for a top 10 as well. Kind of like what my boy T of Sports does, where he stacks these bets on guys that you're trying to find leverage on. And I feel like that's how we want to go about it this week. He's boom or bust. He shows up, he doesn't. And I think this week he's going to show up. He leads the field with Scotty Scheffler in the field. And this is year to date. So over the last 4 months, January, February, March, April, Tom Hoagie leads the field in weighted good shots. So he's hitting it closer to birdie range from all the different proximity boxes, more than anyone else in the field, including Scotty Scheffler. His green regulation rate is 12th. Like all of his metrics, he's got a few bad shots in his bag. He's 32nd. That's, I think, where Scotty beats him, obviously. And that's why his strokes gained is only third and not first compared to Scotty's. So he hits a few errant ones, but man, oh man, does he hit them close when he wants to. And he broke the course record at the Players at TPC Sawgrass. He is the third best birdie maker in the field all the way over there, and he dominates par fives. He's 11th in that, and bogey avoidance, he's 11th. So there's a lot to like about Tom Hoagie this week. His last event was at Zurich, so that was a while ago. He really, really is inconsistent, though. And I think he was playing some bad golf after a lot of golf. Zurich was a while ago. It was relaxing for him. He played some nice golf there. You never know what those kind of events do for a player's game. I don't mind Tom Hoagie this week. I think he resorts back to his baseline, which is a lot better than what he's been doing. Even 16th over the last 24 rounds is still pretty impressive considering how badly he played. Also, Tom Hoagie, not necessarily the best putter in the whole wide world, but he's not terrible. 38th in the field in putting in general, 32nd from 5 to 15 feet on all surfaces. And then on bent, he actually gets a little bit better. So he's 27th on bent from 5 to 15. So there's a lot to like. Around the green plays, he's nemesis. But like we said, these are massive greens out here. Tom Hoagie's got to do his thing. He's going to be hitting way more greens, not even have to chip that much. And I think the around the green play is not nearly as difficult on this golf course than it is elsewhere. So Tom Hoagie, 60-1. Tom Hoagie, top 20 at plus 210. And in all the DFS lineups, he's probably going to be in a lot of them. At 13% ownership, I'm going to be 4 or 5 times the field this week. I'm going all in on Tom Hoagie. If he has a good week, we do too. If he doesn't, we're out of the business. That's just going to be how it is. It's all good. We're going to try and take advantage of him and see what he can do, because I think people are sleeping on the Tom Hoagie man. One Tom to the next. Tom Kim sits in fourth in the mall at $9,600 and 0.25% owned. A quarter of the field owned, 24% roughly. He's even money to finish inside the top 20, which he does about 40% of the time over the last 20 starts. Tom Kim is one of the best iron players in the field. If you're looking at baseline stuff, over the last year to date, he's kind of a little bit behind schedule. But we have mentioned on the show multiple times that we think Tom Kim's been working on his distance, and that can really throw off the rest of your game. And he's a precision golfer. He's somebody that don't swipe the mouse on the mouse pad, Byron, while you're speaking, please. Okay, back to Tom Kim. When you think about Tom Kim's game, it's kind of gone a bit south. But if you take a look at what his distance has been doing lately, it's fantastic. He's gaining distance, I think now. He's I think the last 4 rounds at Wells Fargo, he was like averaging like 305 yards off the tee or some ridiculous number. So he's got pop in his game now, and I think he's been chasing distance. So a lot of his metrics are kind of behind. Over the last 24 rounds, we're seeing the ball striking kind of come together a little bit. Sixth in the field. Strokes gained approach used to be one of the best iron players in the field all the time. That's when he was winning all the Wyndhams, winning all the Shriners, just running down Patrick Cantlay on the railroad there. We love to see that. The putting has been abysmal lately, 80th in the field. So we're going to be going to a course where you got to make those putts. And Tom Kim just hasn't necessarily been doing that. He's 9th in the field in birdie or better rates. The bogey avoidance is pretty solid there. The par 5 scoring 16. So there's some nice things to like. And 9th in the field isn't terrible. But, the putting, you got to be making those 5 to 15 footers. And on bent grass, Tom Kim is actually one of the worst putters too. From 5 to 15 feet, he ranks 128th in the field, which is no dice in that department. We're kind of out on Tom Kim this week, friends, even though he's highlighted yellow here. So I don't necessarily know if we're going to be doing that kind of ownership with that kind of a putting performance, although $9,600, we will see. It's interesting stuff because Jason Day doesn't give me any confidence either, and I'm not entirely sure I want to even be playing him that much. But we'll probably be locking in some Scotty Schefflers, and in order to do that, you're going to have to skip a whole bunch of these 9K guys in any case. So that's fine. We'll go to Tom Hoagie instead of Tom Kim. I do believe that's going to be our pivot this week, and I know that's a $1,100 pivot, but that is what I'm talking about in the model. So Jason Day's been talking about getting vertigo again, and that's not good. His game got to new heights, and then he started getting dizzy. Ding, ding, ding. That's a 31-year-old dad joke for you there. So congratulations to me for that one. Off the last 24 rounds, he's been 3rd in the field, and that's what you're going to be getting for vertigo. He's 3rd in the field over the last 24 rounds. Things have been going great, so that's quite impressive golf. Everything is just great. Ball striking, short game, all inside the top 22 in the field over the last 24 rounds. When you talk about bent grass putting, when you talk about general putting, Jason Day sits 9th in both departments, and he's 6th in birdie or better rates. So, Jay Day, we're going to probably go to him instead of Tom Kim. I think that's what's going to be going on. Yeah. Brian in the chat just saying, saddened not to see Seabez in the top 20 of the model, but I'm agreeing with you on all points so far. Let's get some momentum heading into him. Absolutely. We're going to bankroll build, and that bankroll builder is the mortgage lender's name is Tom Hoagie, friends. Brian, that's who we're going to be going with. So we'll get to Seabez, and the model is a long-run model. Remember, we've got 63% from 2022 and a little bit from 2023. Not that much to deal with the last 24 rounds, which Seabez has been dominating. We'll get there. Because he's not in the top summing of the model doesn't necessarily mean we won't play him in DFS, but I think his ownership is going to be a little bit cray-cray. We'll get there. We will get there. But Jason Day, back to the day man. The iron play of the year to date is kind of, not necessarily popping in any metrics that we're looking for outside of the top 40 in all of those departments. So kind of disappointing there, considering how good his strokes gained approach over the last 24 rounds has been, 22nd in the field, 47th in weighted good shots, 76th in weighted poor shots. So Jason Day is going to have to figure out the irons. I think we're still going to go to him. I love the putting on these greens. Putting is going to be important. As we showed earlier, the key stats are important. Putting is important. And I know a lot of people say you can't really tell if someone's going to putt well or not. Yes, you can. From 5 to 15 feet, that's a very reliable range. Jason Day boxes those putts more than anyone else. There's 8 other people in the field that does it. No one that we've spoken about does it more than he does. That's the fun part about golf, is you can slice and dice it however you want and make the narrative yours. So Jason Day is going to be in our model. He's going to be in our lineups at 28% ownership. That's okay. We're going to get goofy and freaky elsewhere. Like Taylor Montgomery, who sits 6th in the model. This is the highest I've seen him in a long time, or ever, really. And it's kind of perplexing to me, considering how bad his recent approach and off the tee numbers have been. The ball striking has been in disrepair. It's just disgusting at 107th, but then his recent putting is 2nd in the field. This is the Taylor Montgomery experience for you. We'll see what he can get up to. Now, Taylor Montgomery year to date. So since 2023 started, we've got Taylor Montgomery with the 26th best weighted good shot percentage. So that's what you love to see. But he's got one of the worst bad shot avoidance rates at 100th in the field. So that's not good at all. Then there's one other thing that I'm not necessarily that thrilled about is his bend putting. From 5 to 15 feet on all surfaces, we have got the best putter in the field, Taylor Montgomery. But then you go on to bent from 5 to 15 feet, and Taylor Montgomery sits at 52nd, which is no dice. That's for someone with a key trait that's what he relies on the most. 52nd in the field from that range on that kind of grass is not ideal. And it's kind of not making me feel that confident about him. But what is making me feel confident is that his birdie or better rates and his bogey avoidance rates are both beneath his total ownership of 11%. So he birdies the second most in the field. His bogey avoidance rate is 10th, and then he par 5 scores it to 19th in the field. So those are some solid scoring stats because his short game's so tidy. And I think at 11% at $8,700, we're going to be going to him too. We're going to go to Scotty and then kind of skip. Looks like we're skipping the majority of this 9K range outside of J Day. I'm not playing a KH Lee at 25% on a golf course that isn't necessarily that predictive of success. So that's what's cooking on Taylor Montgomery's side. The model kicked him out at plus 200 for a top 20. And I couldn't quite get there for that because the thing is, if you take a look at his top 20 rate over the last 17 starts, which dates back to 2022, he's top 20 47% of the time. But if you take a look at his last 6 starts, none of them have been top 20s. So we kind of, as we've preached on this show, this is back 9 bets. When it comes to betting, we play passive. The model kicks out bets. We don't have to play them. It just suggests them, and we'll play them if we like them. We love the Tom Hoagie bet for many reasons that we've discussed already. Taylor Montgomery, on the other hand, at plus 200, where on the bent grass is a concern to me. I'm willing to take that gamble to the DFS world and play him at 11% ownership, $8,700. I'm not going to bet him to do a top 20 on a surface that he's not necessarily the best putter on compared to other splits. So we're out on his top 20, even though it's plus 200 and very juicy. It's not quite what we're looking for, and the ball striking really hasn't been there. So we're willing to take that risk in DFS. Hideki Matsuyama at $9,800 is the next guy in the model at 7th, at $9,800, 18% owned. Hideki hasn't played much golf, and what he has, it's been pretty good. The putting has actually kind of bounced back a little bit. 51st over the last 24 rounds compared to his disgusting putting performances of 149th on bent grass. So Hideki also one of these guys at 18% who cannot putt from 5 to 15 feet on bent. He just cannot do it. So that's something that we got a concern about. And he's 18th in birdie or better rates for $9,800 dude. What are the other the expensive guys are all ahead of him so far that we've spoken about in birdie or better rates. Even Terrell leads him in that department. So I don't necessarily think we're in on Hideki at $9,800. As we mentioned, we like Scotty this week. In order to play these other dudes, we're going to have to leave him alone. Leave these 9K guys alone. We'll play some Matt Kuchar. We will play some Matt Kuchar. And the funny thing about Matt Kuchar at $9,000 and 16% ownership is that I listen to podcasts because it's kind of like my job to do that in a way. And I don't know if people like Matt Kuchar. And we like Matt Kuchar. He's been doing good things for us. We were on Matt Kuchar all the way back at the Sony Open, one of the very first tournaments of the year. And he's been treating us well, old Matt has. And if you take a look at what he's been up to lately, it's been kind of impressive. He's had a bit of a resurgence in his game, and it's been quite something. Give me 2 seconds to have a sip here. I've been waffling away, and my throat's starting to get dry. There we go. Matt Kuchar getting us parched like he does. Looking good in the hood. So Kuch, history. I know it's not a very predictive thing, but he's played the 4th best history here. Strokes gained average at this venue, 4th in the field. Last 24 rounds, Matt Kuchar's got the 4th best strokes gained total. Tie those two together. That's all you really need to know in order to play somebody. He's $9,000 flat. People don't like Matt Kuchar. He doesn't make a lot of bogeys, but he also doesn't make that many birdies. Now, the funny thing about Kuchar is His putting is 30th in the field, but from 5 to 15, he doesn't watching his golf, he doesn't actually make a lot of long putts. So, with proximity numbers being a lot closer than normal this week, I really enjoy Matt Kuchar's chances because, look at my um, we've got Ernie's food in the kitchen and Phoebe's eating it while I'm on the podcast. She's taken her chance. She's shot her shot while Matt Kuchar's being discussed, and she's eating Ernie's food. So Phoebe's on the naughty list, just like KH Lee will be. But Kuchar from 5 to 15 feet, incredible. Great stuff there. And proximity numbers a lot closer than normal this week. That's where they're gonna be. That's why we're focusing particularly on that range this week. And he's 7th in the field on all surfaces, 39th on bent. But Texas golf, Matt Kuchar, I don't know. Those might be bent grasses in New York that ain't playing the part. Matt Kuchar in Texas, baby, baby. He's someone we wanna go to. So, I really like what he can get up to. The par 5 scoring 13th in the field. So, he can scramble his face off, this boy. And that's what we're kinda looking for too. So, Matt Kuchar, definitely gonna be in our player pool along with some Steven Yeager at $8,200 in 9th in the model. Good old Steven Yeager doing some wonderful things. If you take a look at his recent ball striking, it's 8th in the field. The putter, 135th over the last 24 rounds for Yeager. Man, oh man, not good for him. That's the problem. That is the problem. So, taking a gamble on him at $8,200, I feel like that's fine. If that's the only issue you're gonna bringing me for an $8,200 golfer, I'm okay with that. Easy golf course scoring, strokes gained, 19th in the field. Matt Kuchar, 13th as well, by the way. Hideki, 27th. So, some reason to kind of be off those dudes if you were wanting to. But for Jaeger, I don't mind that at all. And then you take a look at his recent ball striking. Take a look at this with me, folks. Year-to-date strokes gained on weighted approaches, yeah. 6th in the field. Proximity, 12th. Green regulation rate, 6th. The good shots, 38th. So not necessarily hitting it tight, but just rather consistent with the poor shot avoidance rate of 16th in the field. So really, really impressive iron play there from the Jaeger bomb man. And he's tidy around the greens, boys. Boy, oh boy, he's one of the best on the green play, which is kind of perplexing to see him putt that bad for someone with that good of a short game in general. So I don't mind old Jaeger bomb this week. We'll see what he can get up to. I think old Spencer Aguiar, my boy T of Sports, is a big fan of him. I know Sticks Picks is too. I think a lot of people are. 15% of the field is going to be playing Jaeger bombs, and I think it's worth a shot. KH Lee, $9,300, 25% owned, 10th in the model, number 1 in course history. And his recent form is kind of up there. So there's some stuff to like, but it's gonna get out of control. The course history is not that predictive here, and I know it's a TPC venue, which his name's TPC Lee, but we're just out. Ownership play. I'm not gonna waste time talking about him. Aaron Rai as well, I'm out because of the easy scoring conditions. Out of all the guys in the top of this model, if you take a look at birdie fests, Aaron Rai, 47th in strokes gained on easy courses. Nobody else inside the top 20. We got Adam Schenk sitting in 20th at 118th. Nobody in the top 20 is outside the top 40. We've got some Will Gordon stuff, blah, blah, blah. But putting it this way, Aaron Rai is 11th in the model with easy scoring at 47th is not what I'm looking for. Now, is he the 4th best ball striker in the field over the last 4 rounds? Yes. Is he knocking it super tight from 16? He's the 16th best in strokes gained, good shot percentage from all the different proximities? Yes. Birdie or better rates, 60th. KH Lee's 98th. Wow. But on TPC courses, apparently that doesn't even matter. So those are 2 reasons you don't necessarily want to get involved with Aaron Rai. But he's $7,500, 9% owned. Eh. A top 20 for Aaron Rai, plus 250. The model's telling us to bet it. 11 points of value there. A top 20 rate for Aaron Rai in his 35 starts. Well, that's a lot of starts. He's only finished out the top 20 11% of the time. It's just not good enough for me. His upside is very capped. He's gonna play tremendously in round 1, most likely. That's what he's been doing lately, and then kind of just fizzle away as the week goes on. So, although the model's a big fan, I am not. Um, I probably should be, but that birdie or better rate, the ball striking is just doing far too much heavy lifting. I don't think he doesn't fit the picture. Picture doesn't fit for Aaron Rye. So we're going to say Rye to Aaron Rye. Seamus Powell, on the other hand, does indeed make us excited at $8,900, 13% owned. Got a great course history here, which doesn't really matter, but you're going to like it for Seamus anyway, because that's what we do on this podcast. It would be bias. No, you get an objective viewpoint with a very small and very concentrated tinge of subjectivity, friends. Over the last 24 rounds, he's 37th in strokes gained approach, and that's okay because we know Seamus. We've discussed many a time on this podcast what we love about Seamus and what gets him up in the model is his birdie or better rates, bogey avoidance, and par 5 scoring. He scores. He doesn't strokes gain it for some reason. His strokes gain stuff sucks, but he putts on bent grass better than he does on all surfaces from 5 to 15 feet. He's 18th in that department, and he's 5th in birdie or better. So Seamus can make birdies, friends. He can make birdies. And when he's feeling it, he can feel it. Had a top 20 last week at the Wells Fargo. So we might be seeing some impressive form return to the guy's game. After the Masters, he kind of fizzled away, and we've been on him far too much during that time period. So now it's time for Seamus Power to go from shameless to power. And I think that's what we're looking for this week at $8,900, 13% owned. Let's see what he can do. Look at that top 20 rate. 40% of the time in his last 30 starts, he's inside the top 20. I know Darbo talks about it. Sweet Spot DFS is a big advocator of top 20 rates. You got to be, because that's what scores you all the points in DFS. You got to get all your guys inside the top 20. And Seamus Power does that 40% of the time, which is an ideal number for somebody that's below 9K. And if we actually just filter it out, let's just see what Seamus Power actually rates out here. Not too many people are going to be beating that kind of a rate. He's 4th behind Tom Kim and Seamus Power, sitting at 40% a pop. Tie 4th in that metric. So sign me up for some Seamus, particularly after some bad play over the last little while and showing some good signs of resurgence down in Quail Hollow in North Carolina. Seamus Power, ladies and gentlemen, $8,900, 13% owned. He will be attending the player pool party. Siwoo Kim, also, I mentioned on my DFS, my Rainmaker show yesterday, I don't necessarily know if I'll be buying a Siwoo Kim Rainmaker card, but we probably will be buying some Siwoo Kim at $9,100. Still recovering from COVID, I believe. That cough lingers, folks. Do not get COVID. It sucks, especially when you're talking for 40 minutes straight and don't really get to take a breath there. But Siwoo Kim on easy golf courses, 11th in the field. Seamus Powers, 9th in the field, by the way. Easy golf courses. Off the tee, solid stuff. Recent ball striking, 12th. Good shots, 8th in the field. Love to see that from Siwoo. The guy is a beast when it comes to that department. And then 27th and 21st in birdie or bogey avoidance. Bogey avoidance this week, not necessarily that big of a deal. Birdie percentages, 27th, But the easy golf course scoring being 11th, we like that. That's a Kirk Cousins sign of approval. We like that. We do. Off the tee, ball striking. The putting, 109th from 5 to 15 feet on bent grass. Ugh. Not good. It's not necessarily that good from 5 to 15 feet on all surfaces. That's 70th. But we'll lean on the ball striking at this price tag. I probably am contradicting myself about other guys that we've made the same sign of disapproval of earlier based off their bent putting, the bent gents. But you know what it is? You got to pick your poison. 11% owned. We don't mind Siwoo's chances over here. Adam Hadwin just keeps on burning me. He's the burning man of the podcast. And look at the strokes gained approach on the last 24 rounds. It's 119th. That sucks. Get the hell out of here. Get the hell out of here, Adam. So we're going to keep on moving down the board. We're going to go from Adam 1 to Adam 2. Adam Hadwin, Scott, and they are right next to each other in the model at 14 and 15 together. I don't mind Adam Scott this week. And I think, we're going to kind of target all these low 9K guys. We're going to leave the high-owned, the Hidekis, the whatchamacallit, Tom Kims, kind of leave them alone. Tyrrell Hattons, we're going to leave them alone and kind of target the low 9K guys with Scotty Scheffler. Adam Scott off the tee, been great over the last 24 rounds. The approach play, but bit concerning at 91st. Holy balls. But what we did see is old Scotty did some magic at Wells Fargo and had a really good week last week. Scotty Adam Scott has made the Tour Championship, I believe, every single year he's been on tour. Or at least, I might be misspeaking there, he's at least got the longest streak on tour right now of made Tour Championships. I think it's like 13 or something ridiculous. So back when we were in our infancy, Scott was still making Tour Championship appearances. So that's what you're kind of looking for a guy at this time of the season. I think he's going to be stepping it up. I like what he can do off the tee, the approach play. It's hit and miss, but the putting on bent grass is also very bad. Oh boy. We'll just leave him alone. I don't know. We're going to put Scott in the I don't know bucket. I was all about him until I got to the bent grass because I was looking at this birdie or better rates, and it's 10th in the field. Par 5 score. Love to see all that stuff. The easy scoring studio. So maybe we're actually out. We're out on Scott. False alarm. Way too excited about that. Way too quickly. Aaron Wise, 16th. We're going to talk about him. He's making his appearance after putting out an announcement that he wasn't going to be attending the Masters. He did not. Like, if you're going to pick a tournament to like kind of go on a sabbatical for, the Masters is one that seems like a really weird choice. You know you got to be living that good life when you kind of turn down an invitation to the Masters in order to take a mental health break, which I'm a big advocate for, as you know. So he comes back at $8,300, 3% owned apparently. Buy the Rainmaker cards of Aaron Wise. They kind of gone up a little bit too much now, but we put out a tweet a while ago, and that's someone you wanted to get your hands on a while ago. The model's telling us, because this is a long-run model, it doesn't look at the most recent stuff that heavily, as you can tell. If it did, 139th in recent ball striking, or 132nd in recent ball striking, 139th in strokes gained approach of the last 24 rounds, not very good. But what is not told in that story, in the reason why I think the mental health break was necessary, is he would be playing great, going along just fine, playing -4 through 15 holes, 16 holes. And then I think the nail in the coffin for Aaron Wise was hole 18 at TPC Sawgrass. And we saw him do it at the Amex as well, where on the final few holes, blow-ups, not even double bogeys, like quads and triples. The guy just comes out the gates, the wheels fall off down the stretch on the final few holes, and he just can't finish out the round. So that's what happens. He just water balls it, has like some really bad holes, just reload after reload, water nut after water nut, water chestnuts, that whole shebang. So we're willing to go to him at 3% ownership. The model's telling us to bet him at plus 240. Again, passive, aggressive. I know that doesn't fit the bill, but it sounded good in my head. We're going to apply the same concept, and this is a top 20, by the way. We're going to apply the same concept to Aaron Wise as we did to Taylor Montgomery. We don't necessarily feel that Aaron is going to be the safest bet on the board, and it actually doesn't make sense now that he's all the way down there. So, false alarm again. But in DFS, we're going to play him because we want to take advantage of his upside. He's the 4th best birdie maker in the field. 5th best on par 5 scoring. Lots to like there. Bent putting, 89th. Yes, a lot of people are really bad putters on bent grass that are good in general. But we'll see what he can get up to. Take a chance on him at 3%. Don't have to roster him that much. He's a nice salary saver for what he gives you upside-wise at $8,300. Scooting on down the board, Brandon Wu, $7,800, 10% owned, 17th in the model. He's playing some better golf lately. Played some nice stuff in Mexico, I believe. I need to get my bearings about Brandon and Dylan. I think they're both kind of trending in the right direction, but Brandon in particular, take a look at the good shot rate for Brandon Wu. Weighted good shot rate of 4th in the field. Hello. Birdie or better rate of 21st in the field. Hello. Let's go. Brandon Wu, 10% owned, $7,800. That's a little spendy, but we like. I mean, if we're going to be leaning on iron play, why the hell not? The putting, very concerning as well. 60th on all surfaces, 112th on bend from 5 to 15 feet. But he's 21st in birdie or better rates, 4th in good shot percentages from all the distances that we've mentioned in proration. So we like to see that. He's 13th in strokes gained, weighted strokes gained on approach. So that's kind of stuff we want to look at. 11th in the field over the last 24 rounds in strokes gained total. So he's moving in the right direction. We'll eat a little bit of chalk at $7,800. Brandon Wu, let's go there. Will Gordon also. Let's talk about him. Terrible on bent grass from 137th in the field from a 5 to 15 feet on bent, but he's the 13th best birdie maker in the field. He just dominates on easy golf courses in 10th position there. Last 24 rounds of 35th, in recent form. So not too shabby. Off the tee is pretty solid. Weighted strokes gained on approach. Very, very nice. 10th in the field there, but green regulation rates of 5th. I don't know what green regulation rates are really going to do for you here. You got to be hitting it close. So that's why we kind of left that out of the model and kind of went to the good shot rates. But also the strokes gained is going to get you there eventually. So we don't mind Will Gordon either at $7,800. We're kind of going to scoot these guys in. They're the first few, especially if we're not going to be playing Aaron Rye. I mean, if we're going to be playing these guys, oh, Jesus, maybe we play Aaron Rye, considering he's one of the highest graded guys in the model at $7,500, 9% owned, whatever. Moving on, Maverick McNeely. The irony of the Maverick story is he is now a pilot. Can you believe it? A guy called Maverick on the PGA Tour is a pilot, certified. He got his pilot's license last week or so, saw on Instagram. So maybe now he's going to ascend from the ranks of the pilot world and take control of the joystick here in DFS and the PGA Tour. Maverick McNeely makes the top 40s at a 61% clip, makes the cut at 81%. He is, ladies and gentlemen, the second best putter in the field from 5 to 15 feet on all surfaces, and then has a tragic fall off on bent grass from 5 to 15 feet, goes to 70th. That's not ideal. He makes birdies at 25, he's 25th in the model there. Par 5 scoring is 24th. We really want to play Maverick. And I think if I remember correctly, he was actually playing pretty well around here last year and then had a bit of a meltdown on Sunday. But we'll go to him. I don't mind him at all. Easy golf course scoring of 12th. He's $8,800, 7% owned. That's enough for me. Ownership-wise, we don't mind that at all. So we finally get a guy at 20th in the model by the name of Adam Schenk, who is the 4th best putter from 5 to 15 feet on bent. I know we're honing in on that stat, and it may or may not be the death of us this week. But if you take a look at somebody by the name of Adam Schenk in 4th in that department, that is very exciting. He's been playing great golf, 12th in the field in recent form. And we like to see all that. Not a lot of these other stats are going to really be popping because he's been playing golf well lately. And he avoids bad shots. His weighted poor shot avoidance rate at 21st. It's not bad either. So we'll see. I like what he can do. This is basically a putting contest with long irons in their hands. And I like Adam Schenk in that realm. Mackenzie Hughes is somebody else that I also don't mind. He hits really a lot of good shots. So we'll see. If you're going to bank on someone's upside at $7,400, you only have to play 10% of Mackenzie Hughes in order to get leverage on the field. He is a Sanderson Farms winner. We don't mind him. 6th in the field in good shot rate. Let's go. That's all you need to see. And then if you take a look at his bend to base, he's 7th in the field in bend putting from 5 to 15 feet. So that's what you like to see there. See what he can get up to. Par 5 scoring, all the other stats really suck, but we're going to take our shot. I'm looking at Adam Schenk stuff now. Mackenzie Hughes, also, they still suck though, so that's all good. Moving on down the board, leaving Eric Cole alone. He's way ownership. We're not going to play multiple people at that kind of price. Ryan Palmer, you got to play Ryan Palmer in Texas. Look at that course history as well. 6th in the field in course history. I know that's not a reflective thing, but some guys do play well in Texas. Matt Kuchar, Ryan Palmer, those guys. Scotty Scheffler, Jordan Spieth. Texas. Let's go Longhorns. Ryan Palmer, what can he get up to this week at $7,100, 6% owned? The short game sucks. The ball striking's been great. Played really well at the Wells Fargo last week. Take a look at his green regulation rates, strokes gained from weighted proximities, 18th and 14th in the field. So love to see that. Give me that kind of ball striking and then give me the short game on Texas greens. I don't mind at all. The bent grass stuff for him doesn't necessarily pop either, but the par 5 scoring 32nd in the field, that's enough to get us on Ryan Palmer. Nate Lashley at $7,200 is starting to gain some ownership 8% there makes a lot of sense. The guy was sizzling last week at Wells Fargo too. I think he landed up finishing outside the top 20 though. I don't know why he just couldn't quite finish out the round, but he hits a lot of good shots, 18th in the fielding weighted good shot rates, birdie or better rates 20th, and par 5 scoring on 28th. So that's what you're going to be getting from Nate at 8% ownership. Kind of chalky, to be honest. Yeah, and Barbara's talking about kind of chalky. Hit that like button. Let's see the chalk on that like button go through the roof. Want to see some serious stuff there. Don't necessarily ask that for too much. If you're listening on Spotify and Apple, go ahead and do a little review if you feel like to, and let me know on Twitter if you have done so, because I really appreciate that. Thank you, Darbo. I really appreciate that. I have no idea what the likes are at right now. I don't even know where to see that on StreamYard. But what we do like is a good old Ryan Moore. And we're going to dive all the way down and skip a few guys. Ryan Moore is plus 440 for a top 40 on FanDuel. Yeah, plus 440 for a top 40 on FanDuel is ridiculous. If you take a look at what he does, his top 40 rate is 21%, which is kind of close to plus 440. Plus 500 would roughly be 20%. You know, five times return, 20 goes into 105 times. That's kind of how you can look at it. Our odds make sense if you're looking at a historical perspective. But he grades out really well on this golf course. 5 to 15 feet in general, 16th in the field. Really good putter, not necessarily the best on bent at 70th there from 5 to 15 feet, but par 5 scoring, 23rd. Love to see that. And then the weighted approach stuff. Strokes gained is 17th in the field. He's a really good iron player, and he's rather accurate off the tees, 5th best accuracy, and he's 52nd on easy courses. So I'm not necessarily looking for Ryan Moore to – we'll play him in some DFS at $6,400, and we'll also play some Satoshi Kodaira. Why the hell not at $6,400? Both incredible iron players, both with really poor Satoshi in particular with the putting and short game stuff sucks. But we're going to get back to Ryan and why we like him for a plus 440 top 40. The irons, the putting, very solid. And he's accurate off the tee. We saw it, 1% more accuracy, important this week. We'll see what he can get up to. The recent approach, solid, 34th in the field. And a plus 440 on FanDuel. When you look at like DraftKings, I think had him at like 250. So we get a full 200 extra points on FanDuel. We haven't really had a chance like this to bet someone at plus 440 in a top 40 market. So hopefully he comes through for us. It's also telling us to bet Satoshi. But I took a look at Satoshi's stats. Ryan Moore has finished inside the top 40 twice in his last 8 starts, which to me is about 25%. And I'm fine taking that gamble. Satoshi hasn't finished inside the top 40 in a while. So not even once. So that's what you're getting with Satoshi, and we're out on him. Even though the model's telling us to do that, we're taking a really passive, aggressive approach in the model betting and going with that. Scott Stallings is going to be very popular this week. Rightly so. Great course history. Easy golf course scoring. 15th in the field. Weighted green regulation rates. Blah, blah, blah. All that jazz. You know, do what you want with Scott Stallings and Davis Riley. Justin Suh is an interesting cat. We'll see what he can get up to. He's 36th. We actually finally have a decent putter. Now, is this Satoshi on bent grass? Oh, boy. So Satoshi on bent from 5 to 15 is 22nd in the field. Hello there. So that's some interesting stuff. Ryan Moore, we like him. Satoshi, we like him. Justin Suh, we like. Makes a lot of cuts, 80% rate of made cuts for Justin Suh in the last 15 starts. So he's a great cash game play. The upside is lacking, 13% top 20 rate. For somebody that makes that amount of cuts, that conversion rate's kind of disappointing. If you take a look at his round 3 and round 4 numbers, he just ejects over the weekend. I don't know why. It's just what he does. The putter just goes ice cold. Scooting on down the board, let's take a peek here. Let's actually find our guys that we want to talk about. And it's kind of disappointing that we have to scroll all the way down here to talk about the main headliner of the show in old Walker, Texas Ranger. Walker, Texas Danger. Jimmy Walker, $7,100, 8% owned, and 150 to 1 to win this goddamn tournament. If you take a look at what old Jimbo has been up to over the last little while, His strokes gained total over the last 24 rounds is 6th in the field, sitting all the way down here at $7,100. His strokes gained around the green, very classy. The putting has been great. 16th in the field in putting there. The ball striking on approach is 28th in the field in the last 24 rounds. I think he's at a top 25 in his last 4 starts. And we get now a bit of a watered down field. Played nicely at the Wells Fargo, nicely at the RBC Heritage. Been playing some good golf at some really big elevated events. Now we go to Texas, where Jimmy's from. He grew up in Texas, playing on a golf course that he most likely has played a few times in his life. Very familiar with these greens. I know the bent grass stuff for old Jimbo's 104th in the field, not necessarily that good, but he's a great par 5 scorer, and he's 150 to 1 to win this event after playing some really impressive golf over the last little while. We love to see that. So I'm all about Jimmy Walker this week. The short game is sensational. The approach play has been great. And if we go into a contest that needs a lot of putting to be made, he can make those putts. So sign me up for some Jimmy. Sign me up for him to win this goddamn thing. Put him in our player pool as well at $7,100. I don't care. I do not care. Scooting down all the way to 88th in the model is Michael Kim, $7,500, and he's 100 to 1 to win this thing. We've got Michael Kim as a winner, and we believe in him. Last 24 rounds, if you take a look at what he's doing all the way down the model here, 26th in strokes gained total, finished 7th last week at the Wells Fargo. So he's doing some good stuff, and it looks like his stats haven't populated over here, but that's okay. This is just a summary tab. It's not necessarily meaning that his numbers are wrong. It's just showing us the rankings of everything. So leave all Michael Kim's stuff alone. The putting has been great the last little while. The ball striking has been pretty consistent. Around the green's been solid too, like not really 65th, but Michael Kim, we're kind of just taking a flyer at 100 to 1 based off of how well he played at the Wells Fargo. The ball striking numbers popped. He gained over 8 strokes in ball striking last week. So that's what we're kind of taking a quick look at for Michael Kim. Hopefully he can get his stuff together here. He putts a lot better on bent greens anyway, and his numbers aren't necessarily the best because he had a really, really poor start to the season. If you take a look at what he's been doing recently, it's bouncing back quite nicely. So that's what's going on there. Those are our last 2 outrights. I have pretty low conviction on a lot of people this week, so I didn't really get into too many outrights again. I think we're going to have a week where we really fancy ourselves some guys at the top and kind of go hard at the paint there. And I know we wanted to talk about Seabears because we never quite got there. And he was right where we started skipping stuff. But to kind of round out the show, Christian Bezaid noted $8,000, 13% owned. He, over the last 24 rounds, is 3rd in the field in strokes gained approach. And we know he's one of the best putters in the field over the last 24 rounds. That's 13th. And we grew up on bent putting greens in South Africa. And he's 52nd from – oh, no, he's 12th in the field. Actually, this column is talking horse. I'm going to hide that away. Over the last 12 regroup. Bezzy on bent, 12th in the field. Plays really good golf on bent grass. We grew up on that stuff. I'm not surprised. Recent performance on the approach side of things. Since the players, when we found out he changed his coach, he's been dialed, folks. He's been absolutely dialed. His performances have been great. I think it's all been inside the top 30. Usually Bezzy is like a top 40 king. 55% of the time he's inside the top 40. 34% of the time inside the top 20. And 3% of the time he's only inside the top 10. So with that kind of approach play, though, we can see some things changing. I don't mind Bezzy at 8K. I mean, that's chalky as well, but 13% 8K Bezzy with those kind of approach numbers, and we know what he can do on bent grass. Not a lot of people are very good on putting on bent, apparently. It's not a surface they see that much, apparently. Bermuda's the kind of the king, apparently. A lot of apparentlys there, but apparently we're using a lot of apparentlys. So Bezzy on approach, 3rd. Love that. The easy scoring on is 31st. So he's actually kind of gets it together. Look at the John Deere Classic. I think that's bent grass as well. So you like to see those kind of correlations. See what he can get up to. Avoids poor shots really well. and his strokes gained year to date on strokes gained weighted approach, 35th. So we like to see where the numbers are going this year from his. I like it. I like it a lot. So we'll see what he can get up to. Adam Long is someone else I wanted to mention. Really solid on bent putting from 5 to 15 feet, and he's 1% owned. We're going to need some of those guys because I've been talking about Chalk City for a while now. Adam Thingy Adam Long. Let's keep on scooting down the board. Eric van Rooyen, love him here this week. A lot of long iron proximity numbers that kind of check out for him. Take a look at his weighted good shots, 30th in the field, strokes gained weighted, 21st. The approach play, 5th in the field. The South Africans are coming to strike the irons, folks. We are. And in South Africa, we actually do iron our clothes a lot, which makes a lot of sense. Now, I don't know if these two guys have ironed many T-shirts in their time, but in South Africa, we iron a lot of clothes, and it makes a lot of sense because the boys are ironing it out, yeah. Looking good. Looking real good. Kevin Roy, $6,500, striking the ball incredibly well. Green regulation rate, strokes gained, weighted. Kevin Roy, hello. Sign us up for some Kevin Roy. He's been doing some great stuff. His 3-putt avoidance is fantastic, but he sucks from 5 to 15 feet. But at $6,500, we'll take a crack at him. Some other guys, just looking at some real all the way down the board, yeah. Justin Lower on bent greens, 5 to 15 feet, 8th in the field. Love me some of that. Great putter, usually 81st in the field in the strokes gained approach over the last 24 rounds. And he's actually, his good shot rate weighted is 11th in the field. So we're going to, if he pops, baby. So he's got some serious upside at 6,100, $6,700, 1% owned. That's kind of intriguing for me there. Scooting on down, scooting on up. Let's take a look at a few more guys before we get out of here. Some people that we kind of want to talk about, figuring out some stats as we go along the way. I don't know. Oh, MJ Duffy. That's what I wanted to talk about too. $7,200, 3% owned MJ. Let's see what he can do. Oh, surprise, surprise. Another South African who puts a lot better on bent grass. 34th in the field in bent putting. 35th in the field in par 5 scoring. He's been playing better golf lately. 39th in the field in total strokes gained over the last 24 rounds. And he's been putting very well recently as 14th. So we'll see what he can get up to if the irons can figure their stuff out. MJ Duffy, somebody we really want to go to. I know he's been dominating in South Africa when you get to these kind of easier courses. So maybe that can translate to these American tracks. And I think I also want to mention Stuart Sink. Look at this. Stuart Sink on bent putting. 27th in the field from 5 to 15 feet. In general, he's 131st on all surfaces. So old Stewie does his thing on bent greens. And if you take a look at his off the tee, like nothing's really sticking out that much. But you know, this guy can pop, and hopefully Stuart Sink at $800, 1% ownership can do some stuff for us at a birdie fest. Who else do we want to talk about? Austin Cook. Quick. Austin Cook. Look at this. Bent, 5 to 15 feet, second in the field. Hello. Very tidy around the greens. And if you take a look at the good shot rate for a guy that's $6,600, 0% owned, Austin Cook. Good shot rates weighted year to date, 40th. Strokes gained weighted on approach, 34th. So he's had some really poor performances recently. I don't know what the hell's going on with his ball striking over the last 4 rounds, but we know as a baseline candidate, if he gets a bit of a bounce back there, we can expect some good stuff, particularly with that kind of impressive putting on bent grass. So that's what's got going on there, folks. Carson Young, someone else I want to mention, played him a little bit last week too. Didn't quite do his thing, but last 24 rounds, 41st in the field, all the way down here and 100th place in the model. So if we were playing a bit more recency bias, Carson Young would definitely be a candidate for us, and we'd go with that. But he hasn't necessarily done his thing. So we're going to kind of let him come back to us at $6,700, see what we can get up to, and then see what we can do. Henrik Norland is also an interesting character. I'm just kind of mentioning names now, and that's not what I want to do. So Jimmy Walker, 151 to win this tournament. Tom Hoagie, 60 to 1 to win this tournament. And Michael Kim, 100 to 1 to win this tournament. It gives us a lot of wiggle room. Those are very long numbers. Those are numbers that we have some space to kind of, once we see what's going on this week, find a few guys that are ball striking it well, missed a few putts on day one, probably pounce on them. Guys like maybe, I don't know, some interesting cats at the top. Maybe some Tom Kim, if he gets off to a slow start, you know what he can do after making a quad on the first hole. So guys like that, we kind of might be looking at Hideki Matsuyama as well. See what he can get up to kind of or after a slow start. He typically does do that too. So some interesting stuff. We'll check it out. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Go check out rotoballer.com. Use code Maniac for 10% off. Hit that like button on the way out. And we will catch you guys next week on Monday at 8 Eastern for the Rainmaker Runway with me and Joel for the US Open at Oak Hills, or the PGA Championship at Oak Hills, sorry. Catch us then. If not, this time, same place, same time, next week for the PGA Championship on Back Nine Bets. Thanks for tuning in. Catch you.